This clip features filmmakers Nereida Villareal and Marta Galvan, key creatives behind Rebel, an independent feature film project centered around the vibrant 1990s Rebel dance scene.
Well, thank you for having us. Really excited to be here with you today. A little bit about the project. First, it started in 2020 during the pandemic, a Zoom call, kind of like we're doing now. And Martha and Daniel, we grew up together in the high desert. So we were also reminiscing on the time in the late 90s and 2000s. And we talked about a little subculture that existed during that time, and it was the rebel scene. And these kids would wear Harley Davidson buckles and Harley Davidson boots, and they listen to Hard House. And there's never been anything depicted like that. And it was a subculture that existed in Southern California, but in the high desert as well. This is before social media existed. So it kind of brought little communities and parties together. And we thought that we would create something and make it a feature film. So here we are today, 5 years later, writing the script and making it happen. And now we're trying to do this, and it's a coming of age story. So I think it would be resonate with the culture and with a lot of history as well.
Yes, okay. It just it takes me back. It totally takes me back to. I'm familiar with the Rebels
Okay, nice.
because I
That's
know we're
good
we're the
here.
we're the same age, and definitely. So for listeners, I've and of course we've been sharing it a little bit in our social media, but I've seen some of the trailers or the snippets, and it's such a vibe. It definitely calls to those years, So I'm already drawn to it. So I'm very excited to see this project come to life. And I should let folks know, Nereida and I know each other because of the dance scene, because of the music. And so it's really interesting to kind of explore the roots of this, right? So I think that's super cool. So yeah, actually, Martha and maybe Nereida, you can chime in as well. Tell us about the cultural influence of the 90s. Like, what is the time period that you're trying to capture in this story?
Well, we definitely want to focus on the fashion, the music, also how there was no social media at the time. So it was really cool because it was a really different way of connecting with people. You had to actually talk to people. You had to, like, these were ways of connecting and meeting people. Like, it was always like, who are you going to meet? Who are you going to see at the parties? And so I think that's really why we want to tell the story, specifically for a lot of those factors that, like, there was no social media. So like how things triggered, how fashion was seen, it was like just completely different. Plus it was just such a music scene as well that it was just like, although there was the deep house music, it was like other mixtures of music happening at the time too. And all of it kind of influenced the time of the 90s and that whole like movement. And that's kind of really what we want to focus on. And although this movie is not like a documentary about like us in specifically, it is like something that we lived through. So we kind of really saw, and it's a true story. And I'll let
Hmm.
Larry to kind of touch a little bit more also.
Yeah, tell me about the
Yeah.
story and the context, like for our audiences that don't know about where you all grew up, like paint the picture. Tell us about this environment.
So yeah, the story is it's fictional, but we're kind of true story in a way where like the scene is about it's real. And the story takes a place with it's a young girl coming of age trying to figure herself out if she's really a part of this scene or not. So she's kind of like the main character, Alicia, kind of fits a lot of us. Us as the creators writing the story, like where we're like we don't really know what this is about and everything, but it follows her sister who is really into the scene and another character, Edwin, who's also into the scene. And during this time, it was kind of that way, like you were in or you're not. And especially being Latino and growing up, that was like such a popular thing. And so me, Martha, and Daniel, we kind of grew up around that. Even though we didn't partake and we weren't really attached to that, we were really much around it. And so it's really interesting to see how this kind of like formed itself and grew up in the high desert in Victorville. There wasn't much back, especially in the late 90s. Like, I mean, I moved up there when I was a kid in 1991. But yeah, there wasn't much going on. So for that to even exist, and you went to these parties like out in the middle of the desert, you got little addresses by little flyers and whatever people that would send them out. So you'd call a phone number and then you would get like the information address to the party. And I believe that that's all the same way how it happened here in LA as well.
Yeah, and so like I guess it's remarkable because you must have felt so disconnected with not we don't have the tools that we have now. So I see how it could be so like mystical almost how these parties could emerge when you're so far away from LA and so far away from accessing these culture points, but building it yourselves in the community. Tell me why it's important for you to tell this Latino experience, because I think there's a lot of projects that, I feel like Latinos were in style, right? Especially subcultures, like, and this is
Mhm.
neat to, this is a subculture that hasn't really been explored. And so I love that. I think that's kind of a neat opportunity to shine a light on this particular subculture. But why else do you think it's important to tell these Latino stories?
I think it's like the representation was like a big part of creating this film. Since we grew up Mexican American, we were in between two different cultures, the Mexican culture and the American culture, and we just feel like nothing has really been created telling stories within that format. So we really wanted to really have Rebel tell the story of like the real and honest stories of our community. So our goal is to like through this to bring visibility to Latin stories and creatives, and just we wanted to create something authentic and relatable because although we did create this for the Latin community, it is a story that resonates with a wider audience and different cultures.
Yeah, and I mean, I know that in my experience, when things are very specific and authentic, it doesn't matter who the audience is, that's going to resonate. You
Right.
don't have to. In fact, it's when projects try to appeal to everybody and they lose that authenticity because they're not specific, that's
Mhm.
actually when it doesn't land. So I think this is really cool that you're really leaning into this very narrow, very specific experience that you all can attest to, and if you really stick with that authenticity, I think it will resonate with other audiences. Okay, so where are you right now with the project? What is the vision? Are you hoping it to be a short film, a feature film? Like, tell us what you're envisioning right now.
You
So
can go
right
ahead,
now,
Martha.
yeah. So right now we want to make it a feature film. That is our goal. Because with the small trailer or short, we can't really tell the full story. So we really, our goal right now is to really get this to a feature film, to really tell the full story of everything that happens. So for right now, we are looking for funding. That is kind of why we started the social medias and stuff, because we didn't want to just kind of wait around and sit like with the technology we have. We wanted just to jump on it and just get it out there and let it be seen, and hoping that it lands in the right hands. Because more importantly, I think we just want to find either a network or investors or partners that want to collaborate with us and have us involved in the project, because I think it's very important for us who really know the story to really make this what it needs to be. And obviously, like to create a film, you need money. So the trailer we created like ourselves with funding from just us three. So that alone was a lot of money, and it was still, obviously not where we wanted it to be, but that's why now we are hoping to find the right partner and, really take this to the next level and get it to the big screen.
Yeah, that's really exciting. Well, I'll tell you from as a viewer, my experience. First of all, because again, Nereida is one of my friends, and so I got to see like she shared this trailer with us. We're like, oh,
Yeah.
very, very exciting. And so of course I started following, and then later I was scrolling, and I didn't even realize it was from you all when the really poignant video of a girl looking in the mirror using a pin to
Yeah.
separate her eyelashes. I was like, oh my God, like that is so we've all been there. And then I was like, oh my gosh, this is also Rebel. This is so cool. So your aesthetic is already amazing, and I really this is an opportunity for our listeners to hear about it, to follow you all, and to see if anybody listening has those connections or has that interest or wants to make this happen. Here's your chance to get plugged in early to make this vision come true. But let's go back, Nidik. I want to know, like, you all started brainstorming this in 2020. What has it been like to find the time to cultivate this idea and just like see where you are now? I mean, I think the trailer is fantastic.
Thank you so much. It's been, it came up really fast, 5 years. Like it really, when we first started, we weren't even sure. I remember we talked about it, and then I threw an email at Daniel and Martha, and I kind of gave them a couple stories of the things that from that time. And I was like, oh, I remember this one party, or I remember this one thing back then. And then it kind of just trailed off of that. And then Daniel started developing the script. And then through that time, I mean, there was like Daniel lives in New York, Martha and I live in LA. So trying to find the time for us to do this. And then, I had a baby and like all this. So it's kind of been, we all have our separate lives, but somehow we managed to make time, and we would email each other and text each other, and then jump in on Zoom calls. And then last year, it was like before the beginning of last year, because we were like, we got to get this real shot. So I think it was like 2023. No, we were trying to figure out the time when we were going to shoot the reel, and the actors, we had to find them. So we're like, okay, let's get this ball going. We actually flew in an actress from Colorado. We had to do this whole thing. So last year we filmed the reel in 3 days, and then through that whole year worked on editing and the process and whatnot. And then this year we're like, you know what, let's launch it. Let's launch it a year after it's been done and see where it goes. And so far it's been very received well. It's been really nice to see the feedback, and people are just like, well, what is this? And honestly, I didn't know what was going to come about, because it's also very raw of us. It's coming from, our own work. And though we are creatives, the way people see something sometimes isn't always going to be what you think it looks like.
Yeah, well, I
Yeah.
mean, just kudos to you all for this is indie, right? This is what people mean when it's like
Yeah.
independent, like filmmaking, and putting yourself out there. And so, of course, we want to see it succeed. But yes, Martha, what were you going to add to that?
Oh no, I was just, gonna say, because that is the thing, like between us three, we're just, wearing multiple hats, like doing, four different things right now until, we could obviously get our funding. So, I mean, it's just crazy, like the 5 years that have gone into it, and, the dedication that we have. And again, it's just like we could have just kept sitting on it, but we were just like, let's get it out there, and it is getting good feedback. And I think now people are starting to catch on with what the story is going to, be about. Obviously, we're not showing too much of it yet to not give away the full story, but it is a really fun story. I think that hopefully we will get it out there and everybody will be able to see the full feature on the big screen.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so what's your last message for listeners? Like where should they plug in? Just final message for our Tamarino listeners about Rebel.
Well, have everybody join us on the journey. We are just starting off, so follow us, email us if you know anybody, if you want to be a part of anything. Any kind of information is helpful. So you could follow our TikTok and Instagram, and the handles for that are at rebel.themovie. And then we also have a YouTube channel, and that one is at We the Rebel.
Perfect. We'll put all those links in the notes of this episode so folks can check it out. And with that, well, thank you so much for visiting and telling us all about Rebel. And we are all waiting for it to happen. So we'll be looking out for it.
Appreciate
Awesome.
it.
Thank you
Thank
so
you so much
much.
for having
Take
us.
care. Yeah,
Thank you.
great. Thank you.